this is Gene. This is my first battle report. This one is against Warhammer, which is Ben, a friend of mine who also plays Orcs and Goblins. We met at the Island Games. We're both going to Buckeye Battles. Buckeye Battles has some scenarios, and we decided to practice one. We randomly rolled and got scenario 7, which was Bloody Woody Haze. Basically, it's kind of like a King of the Hill. It's a forest in the center of the board. The one that controls at the end of the game gets bonus points for it. There's kind of a trick on that, and that if you're even partially in it, you gain irresistible frenzy, and you have to change the nearest enemy unit in sight. The end of the game, scoring units partially in the woods, you're worth 250. If you're entirely in the woods, you're worth 400. 6 turns, +2 for controlling the Woody Haze, +2 battle points, and +1 for each irresistible frenzy charge you had to make. So, we end up randomize the terrain except for the forest in the center, and this is what we got. Ben rolled to pick sides, chose the side over there. We alternated a couple units, and then he dropped his entire army. So with his army, he has a Feral Orc Shaman, level 2 with a Fencer's Sword, and that big unit of Savage Orcs, an Iron Orc General with the Dragon Mantle, Razor Blade, and Supreme Shielding Talisman. Gives him a 1-up armor, 4-up ward. Goblin Shaman in the back with a Spell Scroll, another Goblin BSB with the Crown of the Cavern King, extend his range to 18, and a Goblin Shaman, level 2. He's got 2 Arachnaroks, you can see one on each side. Neither one of those had the web casters. Big unit looks like 40 Feral Orcs, 2 units of the Nasher Dashers, 10 Cave Trolls, and 5, in the back there looks like, I think that was close to 30 Common Goblin Archers were his BSB, and two of his mages are bunkered up in. And a unit of 5 Boar Boys, common, with a banner, just so they could go for points at the end of the game. My army on the left, there's a Forest Goblin King with a great weapon, Charm of the Cursed Icon, riding the Gargantua. Let's see, the next one over is a Common Goblin Shaman, level 2, with the Book of Arcane Power. Goblin BSB, first time I'm trying out a Goblin BSB, I usually run an Orc. But this one's a Goblin BSB with a Banner of Courage, Sword of Heroes, and a Hardened Shield. Cave Goblin King with the Wizard's Hood, Dispel Scroll, and paired weapons. And beside him is the Common Orc General, Armor of Destiny, Sword of Haste, Dragonfire Gem, Divine Icon. Up on the hill to the left, you see 2 Wolf Chariots, a Get Launcher behind them, small Squig Herd, 21 guys, 5 common Boar Boys with a banner only, again for scoring unit. 31, actually no, sorry, it was like 36 Common Goblins with bows and shields, and to the right 31 Ed Bashers with spears and shield. In front of them there's a unit of Grotlings, which is chaff. Normally I would scout them, but he had no war machines and really nothing they could go after. And 2 Cave Trolls. Off to the right there's another Get Launcher, 5 scouting Spider Riders, but of course nothing to scout with, so they just kind of hung back and stayed as chaff. And another unit of 5 Boar Boys, common, and on the back right is a Splatterer. All the war machines had the Overseers. So go to turn 1, and he won the roll to go first, and as you can see, he just kind of moved up. His first magic phase, he irresistibly cast the Stay Quiet on the Savage Orcs. He rolled the option that does a wound to each caster, string 5 hit to each caster. He rolled 2 1s, and the one he did roll a 6 on was the Savage Orc Shaman. Wounded him, but of course he rolled a 6 and saved it, so no ill effect. My turn, I moved up, as you can see, up on the top right, you can see my spider riders just move up to kind of harass his spider. The boar riders off to the right, they're not going to fight that spider, but they're there to threaten him a little bit, maybe. Everything else just kind of moved up and got in position. I fired my Get Launcher at his Gargantula, knowing I needed a 5 to wound it. Rolled the maximum number of hits, which was 4, and then rolled, as you can see, 4 6s and put 4 wounds on him. The spider riders, with their throwing weapons, managed to get lucky and put a 5th wound on him. Over here, the splatterer thumped this Gargantula and managed to do 3 wounds to it. And we go to turn 2. Again, he moves forward fairly aggressively. He the Gargantula on the right is kind of being a little bit more cautious, because he's got 5 wounds on him, not real happy, but he's set up to have a flank charge on my big unit of head bashers. He also set up on the top left, you can see he kind of set his squig hoppers up to draw me in, I guess, which I'm okay with, because I mean, my Gargantula right now is unwounded. His has 3 wounds on it, and I've got a rider on mine and he does not, so I've got an extra 4 strength 6 attacks. So moving on, there's another good picture of the right flank. Guy looks rather impressive coming through the woods like that. Yeah, set up to deal with my spider riders. And there's the left, where everything's just set up to move forward. So on my part of the turn, I go ahead and charge him. And of course, I make it. He lines up. Move my 2 trolls up for deployment. He's in these woods partially, so he has to make a charge. He has the frenzy. The one thing I did forget about when I did this was I forgot that you lose the frenzy when you leave the woods. So therefore, I was hoping these trolls would come forward, hit my troll, and then kill it, overrun, and have to run off to the far right. But I'd forgotten that he lost frenzy when he gets out of the woods. Spider, I just move my boar riders back to give those squig hoppers a decently long charge, and circled around with the spider riders just to harass stuff and make you make march tests. Overall side of the board, I took a shot with the Doom Divers at his boar riders, the Gargantula, and it scattered off and hit the squig hoppers, which managed to kill 2 of them. I wiped out his squig hoppers, but in return took 3 wounds from it. I went ahead, he's going to charge me in the flank. I went ahead and gave him the flank. It doesn't really matter. I'm stubborn. If I lose combat, I'm stubborn 8. Doesn't matter if he gets the flank or not. We're both stubborn, so it's not really going to make a big difference. And turn 3. He did the required charge here into him, and instead of charging the unit, he could barely see with his general the corner of my troll. So had I paid attention, I could have backed him up another half an inch, and he would have been out of sight, and then it would have worked better. But so he declared the charge with his general charging out of the unit. After looking at the rules later, we're not quite sure that would have been a legal way around this, but it was a great idea and worked for him. Squig hoppers declared a charge of my boar riders. We of course held because we're at the edge of the board, and the big Gargantula, wanting nothing to do with his 5 wounds, just decided to charge off my splatterer. And of course made all his charges. You can see there. So, in his magic phase, he gets itching and scratching off on my Gargantula, which is going to be a problem because now, if he kills me, I don't get any attacks back, which is going to be a problem. Squig hoppers wipe out my boar boys with their impact hit, D3 impact hits, and 8 strength 5 attacks. These guys only managed to put 1 wound on my troll. I did 2 back to him, but he won the combat by 1. My guy was out of range of the general and fled. Killed my other troll with his general and overran. Came about 1.5 inches short of joining this fight, which would have been really bad for me. You can see the fleeing troll on the other side of my Gargantula. In the ensuing fight, he put all his attacks, of course, you know, all attacks onto my spider. You can't attack the rider. He rolled 5 6s on his 8 attacks, one of them from the Venom Surge. Luckily, I saved the Venom Surge on an armor save of 6 and one of his poisons. So he did 3 wounds to me, so now I'm sitting on 6 wounds. My combined attacks did 6 wounds, 3 wounds back to him. So now we're both sitting here on 2 wounds left each, and of course he's going to be going first again next turn, next combat. This I decided to charge his general on my turn with both my chariots. After looking, it turned out that because how close it is to the Gargantula, it's a little closer than what it looks. Only one of the chariots can make it. I went ahead and left both charges that way in case one somehow fluffed the roll and didn't make it. I would still get one in. He's got a 5-up armor, a 1-up armor save and a 4-up ward, so it was kind of just a luck shot to try to put a couple wounds on him, maybe get really lucky and kill him. Or if he fluffs his rolls against me, maybe winning combat, because he is out of the BSB range. And hopefully, maybe get a lucky flee. Over here, everything just repositions. Spider Riders come back up to keep harassing. Troll flees further into the woods. And as you can see, my chariot did make it in. And now my Grotlings have gone forward to perform the same, chaff roll to try to get those. What I'm trying to do is get those Savage Orcs to charge and have to overrun, and therefore give their flank to the Squig Herd or the big unit of Ed Bashers. And going for a few pictures. All right. So in the combat, he goes first, puts the extra 2 wounds on my spider, and it's dead because of the itching, scratching. I don't get to fight back, so his spider is still sitting there with 2 wounds on it. Turn 4. Well, he's got one more character, and he charges out this time into the Grotlings. Over here, these guys needed like an 11. It was a long charge. They failed, only moved like 2 inches towards my Splatterer. Trolls failed their stupidity out of the range of the general, even with the reroll from the BSB behind them. 2 rolls on 4, not very likely, and of course didn't make it, and they stumbled forward an inch or 2. You can see his mage here in the back moves up a little bit behind the trolls to get in range of more of his spells. His general on the right redeploys back behind the Savage Orc horde. Feral Orcs, not sure why he didn't just rejoin them. In the meantime, the Splatter, I think last turn, put 1 more wound on the Gargantula. You can see it now sitting on 7. It's got 1 left. And kind of a full picture. Oh, this is his Gargantula moves back onto the table and backs towards the Splatterer. Couldn't quite get far enough there, but is basically trying to get out of its short range. His archers, which back here you can see them on the top left, they did a swift reform, moved a little bit, and shot up my Spider Riders, caused 2 wounds, and they fled to here. Then he cast, which is why he moved that mage up, he cast the Curse of the Green Moon through the trolls, which, not a big deal, and rolled a great number, went right through, rolled a 20 for range, went right through all the trolls, no big deal, caused a wound, and then hit all my orcs. 32 rolls, killed 9 of my Ed Bashers. Mage came over, caused 2 wounds, had a charge, 2 wounds, and a flank, which crumbled away the one and put a wound on this one, but they're unbreakable, so he just stood there. My turn. everything's looking okay for me because that unit of Grotlings is still there and is probably going to win that combat again. So I declare the charge, an 11-inch charge with my Squig Herd and a 10-inch charge with my Ed Bashers, both into that unit of Trolls. And of course, the Ed Bashers needing to roll a 6, as you can see to the right, the 2 dice to the right, rolled a 5 and came up short. The Nashers went in alone, not going to be a good day for them. But on the other hand, my Troll did rally in the woods. Troll in the top right, left corner, you can see, did not rally, of course. Can't hope for everything. The Boar Riders decided they'd had enough, and they did a march move and just zipped right past that Gargantula. They're hoping to circle around, threaten the general maybe, and maybe try to get into the woods on the last turn. Spider Riders rallied. And the magic was ineffective, even though I had this mage up here. What I was hoping to do was get the Stay Quiet spell off on that Grotling, so that when those unit of savages had to charge them, they would all have to take dangerous terrain checks. But magic didn't help me. He dispelled everything I had this turn. So, rolling to hit, and we caused about 6 wounds. He saved a bunch of them, so he ends up pulling off, I did a total of 4 wounds to him on this fight. You can see on the top left a little bit, the Grotlings got lucky, rolled 2 5s to hit this mage, and 2 6s to wound him, and he ended up killing him. Trolls fight back, crush him, he wins the combat by 5. I roll a 5 and stick because my general right below them is leadership 10 with the standard of discipline. And we go to turn 5. The Dashers tried again to charge get the Splatterer, and this time failed again. Got it 4 inches closer this time though. The Gargantulas had enough completely. Backs all the way up into this, so he's definitely within the 12-inch range, and I cannot shoot him with that Splatterer. His Boar Boys move up a little bit. General moves around. He had to charge the Grotlings, so smartly he moved the general around to block their overrun. So now, even though they're going to have to kill this and overrun, they really can't go anywhere because the general's an inch away from them. Elsewhere, he just moves the Gargantula off to the left, just trying to kind of dance around, stay out of range. And that's kind of the overall board look. He gets the itching and scratching off again on my Ed Bashers this time. This spell's a really good spell, especially when you're fighting the same army as you. It just means they're going to be going last. The Trolls, of course, finish off the Squig Herd, the Nasher Herd. And on my turn, this Gargantula on the top left only has 1 wound left, so I take a long charge with it's a 9. It only needs a 9. He's 18 inches away. With this Chariot, hoping the impact hits can do that 1 final wound to him. You can see this mage over here on the right. He's declaring a charge to get out of the way of the common goblins. I'm thinking if I can hit that unit in the flank with a little bit of luck, he needs 4s to hit me. With a little bit of luck, he's going to have, what, 12 attacks? He's going to hit me 6 times, because he's going to need 4 because they have weapon and shield. If I can get by with 3 or 4 wounds, and I can do a wound or 2, and the flank, and he's partially in the woods, I think I can maybe panic him and cause him to run. And of course, with that in mind, the Ed Bashers go into the Trolls. We checked, they were in the front of the savages, the feral orcs. So they both go in, they both make it. The Chariot makes it. And the Troll fails a stupidity, stumbles forward 6 inches, which is perfect because it just blocks up the Boar Riders. If you notice one thing that's missing, the needing a 10 to charge, the common goblins failed and move. I think I rolled double ones and they moved like 1 or 2 inches forward. During the combat, the impact hits did manage to kill off the Gargantula. Over here we did terrible. I think we did 2 wounds to the trolls. You can see they pounded us a bit. We made our break test, even with our stay quiet. He was just rolling great with the trolls. His regens were on fire. I got 2 characters in there. One that has 5 attacks at strength 4, the other one with 4 attacks at strength 6, and did no wounds from the characters, managed 2 wounds from the unit. And the final turn, turn 6. I don't really know where he was going with the Boar Riders. It was turn 6. He was trying to reform them to see if he could get them into the forest, but there was no room for him. He charged here on the top. You can kind of see, let me back up a minute. Yeah, you can kind of see here in this picture. The general cannot see the mage. The general can see the unit of orcs though. So the general charged the unit of orcs to clear himself out of the way so the ferals could charge in. But because of where his orc general has to end up, the only thing the ferals can attack is the goblin mage. And he's going to be forced to overrun, but he's going to hit his unit first, so he's not going to get into the big fight. Well, he will get into the big fight, but it won't stick there for combat res. And you can see both the charges make it. The Nash and Dashers finally made it into my Splatterer. And he's just pointing out what bad shape my Ed Bashers are in. He's taunting me. And we go to combat. And as you can see, he's completely wiped them out. Despite the stay quiet I had on him, which was forcing a -1. Yeah. And when we stopped, when we broke and fled, we fled away from the trolls. He ran me down. His general rolled a 12 for pursuit distance and ran all the way into these common goblins down the bottom left. So my turn 6. He's stuck there in the goblins. I'm going for another 18-inch charge with this chariot. This time trying to come back and thump into the side of that general. Just add the impact hits, the charge in the flank. Sorry about the blurry picture, but the orcs decide to try to go into this woods. He's got 2 units partially in the woods, so I can get this one fully in the woods, but I'll lose the combat from the bonus points from that. So I decided to charge him in the flank and see what happens. They're in the woods, so they can't be steadfast. So just hoping dangerous terrain doesn't kill me. Surprisingly, the troll passes stupidity, charges into the rear of the Boar Riders. Chariot on the top left, as you can see, failed miserably, barely moved. The Boar Boys made it in, no dangerous terrain, so they're fine. And of course the troll, being only an inch or 2 away, automatically was in. The Spider Riders came up and managed to put 1 more wound on the Gargantula, which brought it to 6, which is 75%, which is 20, leaves it down to 25%, which gives me half points for it. So that's something. And there's another picture of that. Troll in combat I think he did a wound, maybe 2, to the Boar Boys. They did nothing to me. I had a charge, a rear, and a wound or 2. All he had was a banner. He broke and fled. I ran him down and ended up there. So, general fight, I challenge with my champion. He fluffs his attacks, needing 4s because I do have parry. I challenge with my champion. He ends up doing 1 wound to him. I have, and a charge, and he's got the charge. I have 3 ranks, a banner on him, so I win by 2. There was something else I won by. Oh, I had 2 banners in this unit, so I won by 3. He rolls a 6 to stick, which is exactly what he needed. No BSB around, so it was 1 chance to roll a 6 or less, and he got it. oh well, that was one of my chances. But on the other hand, these two units managed to wipe out the common goblins. And there's the picture of the spiders taunting their big brother. And that's kind of how it ended up. So we totaled it up. He ended up winning by 998 points. He got 250 point bonus for the woods. So he ended up with 1248. Normally that's a pretty bad loss, but under the Buckeye system, it only turns out to be a 14-8. Under the Buckeye point system, the loser is not punished anywhere near they normally are. I mean, I think this was a 17-3 or something like that as far as the ninth age scoring. But you can see it was 14-8, and with he had 5 bonus points out of that, so he would have ended up with 19. I had no bonus points, so would have ended up with 8. And that is it. So thank you, hope you liked it, and that's it.